Our guest today is South Carolina House Representative Brandon Guffey. Representative Guffey is one of the top voices when it comes to combating teen sexploitation and has made it his life mission to protect children here in our state. Previously a small business owner, Representative Guffey has dedicated a significant portion of his life to this cause, and we are grateful he's willing to share some of his story with us today. Representative, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on, Heath.
I will say, when we met at the Echo Ball a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I had just reached out to you, I think it was like that week, and when we were signing in, my last name, Gerald, was very close to Guffey, and so I saw your name tag, and I was like, oh shoot, President Guffey's here, I gotta meet him. And so I had my eyes peeled the whole night looking for you, and then you came in like right at the end.
Well, I always enjoy that Echo Ball. You know, I think what they're doing really is beneficial to the state. Mm-hmm. And with the private donations and everything that come in, it's amazing how they can put that event together and raise so much and do so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was one of the first, like, I guess, like, big events. Some small school, like, I'm from middle of nowhere. My parents are from middle of nowhere. Well, I shouldn't say I'm from middle of nowhere, but I haven't been to a lot of those big, like, time events, I guess you could say. So it was a little nerve-wracking for me, I will say. My wife would laugh at me if she was here.
The first one I showed up to, I showed up in jeans and a T-shirt. Ooh. I didn't know what was going on. And
a black tie event?
It was a black tie event, and I didn't have a clue, but Mark Smith pulled up, and he was like, hey, are you in town? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, come with me. So myself and Brandon Cox from Goose Creek and Mark Smith, we come rolling up in there, and they had their suits on. They're always like in black suits. Yeah. I'm in jeans and a T-shirt.
If you're running a small to mid-sized business, you know there's simply not enough hours in a day to take care of all of your business needs. From managing health insurance to payroll, procurement, advertising, you're going to need some help to get that initial momentum going. That's why I would partner with Quesco. They take care of all the behind-the-scenes administrative and HR work, letting you focus on what truly matters, which is running your business. That's Questo, Quesco. Visit Quesco.net or call your local Quesco representative Thomas Owens at 864-477-0843 to get started today.
Kudos for you for staying through that.
I didn't stay for the whole thing.
I would bounce out of there so quick. But I've been listening to some of your podcasts, so I will say Pints and Politics. I want to give them a shout out.
Well, thank you.
Because y'all do some good stuff. If anyone out there is wanting to know about the ins and outs of the South Carolina House Congress and what they're going through, I mean, that's a great resource for it.
It's a good way for us to discuss how we get to a thought process on how we vote. And myself and Heath Sessions, who I record with, both Republicans from York County, but we don't always agree on certain bills. And sometimes, you know, just through the conversation, the good thing is both of us like to play devil's advocate.
Okay,
so if one is on one side, we like to kind of question to make sure that they're thinking through all the scenarios. But it's been good. You know, I thought that the best thing would have been to just mic up two freshmen as they come in.
Yeah. And a freshman is
a freshman legislator.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And let them learn the process. Yeah. Because in politics, it's not just about, you have people that are really good fundraisers. You have people that are really good at running a campaign or the stump speeches. But whenever it comes to actually getting things done, which is what we should measure on, they don't want to go through the process in order to get things done.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's the narrative. And whenever I walked in, like my first impression, I walked in, all I'd heard, I think I'm walking into the swamp, right? That's the way I looked at it. Everything is swampy and everybody's padding their pockets and whatever the worst case narrative that there is. And I'm not saying that there isn't swamp, but I walked in, and even the Speaker of the House at the time, you know, I was told, don't say that you like Ralph Norman and don't say that you like Wes Clymer. And he said, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And I was like, well, I'm really good friends with Wes Clymer. And in York County, there's 3 types of Republicans. I'm more of the Ralph Norman type. And as soon as I said that, it was kind of like my way of saying, this is who I am. I'm going to be that bull in a china shop.
Good for you.
I learned mistakes throughout the way. No one's ever forced me to be anything other than what I am. But you also have to show respect to people that have worked to get in those positions as well.
I feel like with politics, there's a lot of people, you're obviously not this case, but are maybe two-faced.
Yes.
How do you combat that, or how do you stay true to yourself when you're surrounded by some of that?
I mean, my haters would say that I'm two-faced too.
Yeah.
But what I find, I call it being disingenuous. Like my campaign slogan was genuine. I had people tell me, hey, your ideas are out there, but at least you believe what you're saying.
Staying true to it, yeah.
And, I lean a little bit more libertarian on a lot of issues. And so I know that my voice isn't always the voice of all of my people.
Gotcha.
And I have to look at what is best for my people at the time, unless it's something I said, no, this is where I'm going to be and this is how I'm going to vote.
Nice. Well, I'll say you're obviously very involved with the community, with the state, with, like we talked about earlier, sexploitation. I first heard your story on the Morning Wire a couple weeks back, and that was incredibly moving. And I wasn't aware of how much it hit home with like being here in the state. Without me putting words in your mouth, can you share a little bit about your story and the journey you've been through these past couple of years?
Yeah, so July 27th of 2022, I just won my primary, but I had not been elected yet.
Okay.
I lost my oldest son, Gavin Guffey, to suicide, and I didn't know why. I come to find that he was being extorted online. So someone pretended to be a girl on Instagram, reached out to him around midnight. He jumped off of a game with friends and said, hey, I'm going to chat with this girl. They began sharing images back and forth with one another. And then this girl supposedly started to blackmail him for money and said, I'm going to make these pictures go viral if you don't pay me. And whenever that happened, I started questioning, did this happen because I'm in politics or trying to run for the state house?
Because there's a gap before you found out what the cause was.
Right.
Yeah.
But we found out that it was a mid-20s-year-old in Nigeria that was doing this. And not only that, but Lagos, Nigeria is a hotspot for these sextortionists.
So it's a business there.
It is a major business. So the sextortionists in Lagos, you would equate them to the cartel in Mexico.
Okay.
Like that's how much power they have. To give you an example of how large it is, Meta in August of 2024 pulled down 63,000 sextortion accounts in one day just off of Instagram and just in Lagos, Nigeria.
Wow. So it is a significant industry there.
Yeah, I mean, since my son's death and my goal, I wanted to quit politics. It's like, hey, this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah. Why'd you want to quit?
Well, I mean, because I didn't know if this is just by me going for the state house seat, because of all the rumors and lies and everything that happened in politics, like you didn't know. I didn't know if this only happened to my son because of politics.
Gotcha.
I didn't know enough about sextortion, and my wife said, absolutely not. You're one of the few people with a voice, get up and fight and make this happen, make things happen so the next Gavin doesn't feel this way.
Absolutely.
And so my goal has been to try and save kids, and it will be my mission to the day that I die, is to save as many kids as I possibly can from these online crimes. And unfortunately, there's over 45 teens in the U.S. alone, and these are just the public reports that have taken their life since then. I would say well over 100 as far as people that aren't even discussing it. And then you also got to think about the teenagers that parents just didn't know why.
Wow.
And not just that, I'd even say adults. I mean, I've seen one of the most savvy business people, I would say, in South Carolina that I would think this guy is super bright, but yet struggling in a marriage and decided he was going to jump on a dating app, ended up getting sextorted. Gave away $50,000 to try and keep this from becoming public, because then him and his wife started working things out and didn't want to ruin his life and ruin his reputation.
Wow.
So we see a lot of adults that happens to as well.
How are you specifically, or what are some of the actions that you all have been taking to help protect kids from this?
Well, so within the first 4 months of me being in the State House, and I get a lot of credit for it, but it wasn't just me, and I say it's a tri-party effort, because it wasn't just a Republican, Democrat, or Freedom Party. All of us worked together as freshmen. And we had the second largest freshman class in the history of South Carolina.
So there's
we
a lot
all
of change
came
coming
in and
yeah.
worked. We would meet at my desk Tuesday before we got into session. Often people would pray. We would leverage anything and everything that we could to get the bill moving, and we got the bill passed within 4 months in South Carolina.
That's fast.
And as what is now known as Gavin's Law. So it creates it as a crime. It is now a federal offense, up to 15 years in prison, and it's stackable. That's per offense.
Okay, so you can have life in prison for this.
You can,
Yeah.
depending. I mean, like the people who were targeting my son, or the group of the Yahoo boys out of Lagos. I mean, they might be targeting 20 to 30 people in a single night.
Yeah.
So, and the U.S. kids are the ones that get targeted because it's nothing for a U.S. kid to have $100, $200. And whenever they run out of money, they just turn them into money mules of transferring money from Cash App to another Cash App to make it difficult to track them down.
That is terrifying. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
It is a criminal network.
How are you able to track down the specific group or the specific person in your case?
Well, once again, that's something I get credit for, but that's not me. That's FBI and Homeland doing their due diligence. But it started with tracking from where Gavin sent money. And you go to the person that they sent money to, and then you find out that person was being extorted.
Yeah.
And then you go to, well, who did they send money to? Oh, well, that person was being extorted. Yeah. Oh, and they sent it to another person that was being extorted. Wow. And then you have to trace it down that way, or you have to, because of VPNs, you can't really track down. You can, but it's very difficult.
Yep.
And then as you start dealing with not just state lines, but international lines, it becomes very difficult.
Yeah, where it gets really messy.
Yeah.
I know that this past week, the president signed the Take It Down Act.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about that? Because you were there when it happened. What kind of propelled that, and what's sparking this movement?
So, Take It Down Act, and I say, Gavin's Law to me was the snowball that started rolling.
Yeah.
We passed another 4 laws. Matter of fact, one of the reasons I was late today is because we signed revenge porn law in South Carolina. But the Take It Down Act, what it does is it criminalizes someone posting images online without your consent. So it's up to 3 years in prison if it's a minor, up to 2 years in prison if it's an adult. And the companies only have 48 hours to take it down, or they will face fines.
And now that's in law.
That is now in law.
I think that is incredible. I don't get too much into politics in a public setting, but yeah, that's needed, especially with AI.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this includes morphed images.
Yes.
Because this blew my mind. With AI, you could literally make a pornographic movie using the face of 2 8-year-olds, and you're watching child pornography, and everybody says, oh, well, that should just be illegal. Okay, well, how do we write that in law?
Yeah.
Because you have to be very careful, because if you aren't very explicit in what can be charged and what can't, well, are you going to be able to charge Wile the Coyote for dropping the boulder on the Roadrunner? Yeah. Is that attempted murder because someone drew that? Gotcha. So you have to be very careful on what lines cross. So we had to make sure that it's intimate images of sexual nature, identifiable child. Those are key factors, because in a lot of these child sex abuse material cases, you have to find the victim to say this was a victim that was underage. Wow. And that makes charging a lot of these people. You'll see this person's house gets raided. The news article today come out, Lexington County man facing up to 17 years in prison because child sex abuse material on devices. But they have to track down who are these victims. That can take time. There's a reason it took, even in the Diddy case, it was 10 months from the time
I didn't know if it was
initially
closed. I thought it was still going.
I mean, it's not closed, but they're in the trial. But I'm talking about before he was indicted. And once you start getting on a federal level like that, I mean, the federal government isn't going to waste the resources to get a search warrant. A federal judge isn't going to sign off on it unless there is already a fire there.
What did it mean to you to have the Take It Down Act signed into law?
I don't know if it was as much me as it was surreal being there at the White House. But to think that 2.5 years ago, whenever we started this fight, that I would be sitting at the White House, and I made sure I put my 2 other boys up front, 19-year-old and my 7-year-old, and to see their face, like that is, they know their brother's death was not in vain. and to know that they're the ones that I'm trying to fight for.
Yeah.
That's what makes a difference. And it's not the perfect law. And the Take It Down Act wasn't my bill. I just became an advocate for it through Senator Cruz and Senator Klobuchar's office. They're the ones who were really ushering this through. And then First Lady Melania Trump, as soon as she come in, she called a roundtable discussion, and I was invited up there.
Really? Yeah.
Myself and 2 other teenage girls that were AI morphed images.
Victims?
That were victims. That people created these nude photos of them and was sharing them online and ruining their reputation, and the tech companies won't take them down.
That is insane to me.
Yeah.
Because I could see it in school. Bullying is obviously so in high
And
school,
now you
middle
can just
school,
create whatever.
It's too easy for kids. So I've always thought that this was going to be an issue, and I'm so glad that this is now being addressed.
I was talking to our AG's office, or AG staff, after the revenge porn law signing today, and I was telling them, I said, we've got a major problem with AI, and just look at it politically. All of a sudden you see a video and it shows me just smacking like a 5-year-old or something.
Yeah, fake.
How do you know if it's real
Absolutely.
or fake?
That is crazy.
You know?
But you're also involved. It's Cyber Dive. Is that the name of the company?
Cyber Dive is a group of guys, basically one guy, Jeff. He's the one with the idea.
Yeah.
So he was a day trader out of California, very successful, lived in
Really? Okay.
Silicon Valley. But he is a goal setter. He's the guy who is always striving to do something better. So he summited all peaks. But whenever he come down from Everest, he summited the 7 peaks.
That's crazy.
So him and like Dr. Tom Mulliken would get along great.
Yes, they would.
You know, but Jeff is just that guy.
Yeah.
And he come down, and I'm trying to think of I cannot remember the girl's name, but it was a teenager in California that took her life due to online bullying and intimate images being posted of her online. Amanda Todd, that's who it was. And he was not far away from her. And he said, this is wrong, we've got to do something to fix it. He got out of day trading. He moved his family to Phoenix. That way he could afford engineers a little bit better, a little bit cheaper, and began to build a cell phone that will mirror. A parent can see everything, because if it's app to app, then you have to have app permission.
Yeah.
But imagine if you had a phone and you could pull up like TiVo or DVR and see exactly what your kid is looking at on the screen.
Wow.
So they reached out to me, and now he brought in a lot of military guys.
What do you mean? Oh, like for employees?
As employees. So
Okay.
Jeff's partner became, I think he was an Army Ranger, but he was in military intelligence within the military. Brought him on, which that brought in other military guys.
Yeah.
So a couple of guys came out to Columbia with me one day, and everyone's always wanting something.
Yeah.
And they just said they wanted to meet with me. I met with them, and I was like, what are you guys trying to do? What do you want? And they were like, we don't want anything. We just wanted to meet you. Your cause resonates. And so I ended up giving them a tour of the Capitol, kind of stayed in touch. They would have questions about stuff. Well, hey, if we had this, would it help in your son's case? And I said, yeah. And then at the end of 2024, they reached out to me and asked me about AI. And my suggestion was to create an AI nudity filter on the phone.
Okay.
So, and I believe that CyberDive has the ability with their phone, Aqua One, which launched on Black Friday of 24.
Nice.
The Aqua One phone, and the way that they're programmed, because of trying to communicate between the two, they're very unique. But they are one of the few companies that have the ability to train an AI model without it being corrupted, because only parents are the ones replying to it. You're not going to have pedophiles.
Yeah.
Like if Facebook tried to do it and said, is this CSAM or not?
Yeah, you'd have all kinds of just
You could train
trolls
AI to say every cat is a dog or every dog is a cat. And I'll use this as the example. So one of the first photos that comes through is like middle school girl. She's like playing in mud, bathing suit, but covered in mud. The filter pings it and says, this is nudity. So what happens at that time, because the phone thinks that it's nudity, it locks down the child's phone.
it stops.
And it shows the parent what is on there, and then the parent says this is CSAM or this is not, and they can report it,
and the model trains,
and it's training the AI model. So I think that and no one else can do that because no one else has that technology.
Yeah, and parents, that's a good truth value right there. Yeah,
and it's not built out yet. The model's not trained yet, but what they did do to start off with was they went ahead and made it to where if a camera points at nudity, so they train the device itself, so if the front or back, not the screen, the camera. So if someone tries to take a picture of themselves, or if it comes through as an image, the phone locks and notifies the parent.
Wow.
So it will help combat that.
Yes,
and I would equate it to, is it the perfect solution? No, but it is. In my mind, it's the perfect solution because parents can't control everything that their kids are doing.
Yeah, and at some point, you have to release your kids to obviously go into the real world,
and this gives them freedom.
Yeah.
You're not going to take a 16-year-old that's already had an iPhone and give them an Aqua One and then be okay with it. Yeah. But if your child's first phone at 10 or 11
absolutely be the very first phone
is an Aqua One CyberDive phone, they know that everything that they do, their parents can see. And it also, another thing it does is it's picking up on the algorithms. So if your kid is watching, say, suicide ideology videos, or another good example was one of the parents called, and one of the testimonials was, I never knew that my daughter liked softball. I had her playing
soccer.
I had her play basketball and soccer and all these things. And the daughter never came to the dad and said, I want to play softball. She was just playing their sports. And then the phone was like, hey, she spent 20 minutes watching softball videos this day, and then 20 minutes the next day, and 20 minutes the next day. So the dad goes to the daughter and says, hey, you've been watching a lot of softball videos. And she's like, yeah, I really want to play softball. And he's like, well, what about basketball? I'm sorry, I don't really like those.
Okay. That's awesome.
So it's just that. But it's, if you got a kid young enough, like whenever we passed the seatbelt law, if you didn't grow up with a seatbelt and you're 16, 17, whenever they pass the law, you're not putting on a seatbelt. But if you grew up your entire life wearing a seatbelt, then it helps you.
Why do you think that culture is so late to this? I mean, iPhones came out 2007, and kids were getting them in their pockets easily 2010. I mean, I had one in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Why is this is over 10 years later that we're just now?
I'll blow your mind even more. The prior to take it down, the last law passed to protect kids online at a federal level was 1996.
Was there even what?
I tell people in 1996 crazy. It took me an hour to download a Wu-Tang
there
Clan
was
song
barely
back
any
then.
Internet back then.
Yeah,
that was the last time that there was a protection for kids.
That is the Children's Online Protection Act, which is known as COPA. Now, COPA, in my mind, is the biggest mistake this country's ever made.
I don't know anything about it.
Because they allowed the big tech lobby, or the internet lobby at the time, to help them with the wording. And what they did, instead of having adult and minor, they said that internet companies cannot be held responsible, cannot be sued. These are the world's richest companies since the inception of man, but they cannot be sued for anyone that is 13 years or older on their device. Well, social media didn't exist then.
Yeah.
But now you've got social media companies. I can tell you bad things about every one of them, but let's just say YouTube. Your kid's sitting there watching YouTube, and before they had YouTube Kids and everything else, they're watching videos. Well, then the algorithm throws in a choking challenge video or a Tide Pod eating challenge video. You got a 12-year-old, 13-year-old watching this, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm going to do this with my friend. And they go and choke their friend dies.
That's crazy.
Like, this is the problem, and there's thousands of kids that have died just due to algorithms.
Just from what they're seeing on the internet.
If you were to buy a phone right now, and you open it up just pretending you are a 13-year-old girl, and let's say if it's asking you, and you identify as LGBTQ+, on TikTok whenever you're going through your profile. In under 90 seconds, you will get homophobic videos shown to you. You will get suicide gratification videos sent to you. Under 90 seconds of a brand new account on TikTok.
That is insane.
Because the algorithm is saying, because you identify as LGBTQ+, this is going to elicit the most emotion out of you.
This is the stuff that's watched by those that identify,
And that's why big tech companies should be able to be held responsible.
So speaking about big tech, how do we enforce, I guess, I don't know where I'm going with this. How does the government enforce the 48-hour rule with this?
Well,
because if I see something, if I'm a parent and I see an image of my child that's been up for 72 hours and I contact a local police and then they contact so-and-so and then it could take 2 weeks.
No, they've got to have a spot on their page that is easily found to report.
Okay.
So if you report it, to take it down, it starts from the time they have 48 hours. And if they don't, then they are fined by the FTC.
Nice.
So we can't sue them still.
Mm-hmm. But they get fined.
But they get fined, and those fines can compound.
Yeah, especially when you have millions of users on it.
Right.
That's pretty nice.
So that's the only
awesome,
way
actually.
to approach it. Now, I believe the solution to get big tech held responsible, just as with anything else, is we have to treat this as a product, not a company, or not a service.
Okay.
And if you have a product, you have children's protection laws already in place. This is dangerous. Well, why do they exist? They exist because of civil lawsuits. These companies can't be sued, but if Meta could be sued, they would fix their problem tomorrow.
But they can't, so they're not worried about it.
So they're not worried about it because they've made over $1 trillion from the 13 to 17-year-old age range. Each person that's 13 to 17, I think it's like $260 something dollars, is their advertising value per user.
Didn't you sue Meta?
I am suing Meta.
You are currently suing
Yes.
Meta. Okay.
It's just caught up in court, but doesn't mean I'm going to win.
Yeah.
But
and making your voice heard, they're going to hear it.
Right.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
I'd love to get your opinion on this too. So Meta is famously launched their Messenger app with end-to-end encryption. So they say they can't see what's on there.
They did that because of my voice.
Okay.
So my argument, in my son's case, it wasn't end-to-end encryption. It didn't become end-to-end encryption until 2024.
Yeah.
And prior to that, you could see it.
Who could see
the problem? Anybody, if you pulled a search warrant, you could see the messages.
Okay.
So like in my son's case, we're able to get those messages because we could file that search warrant and get the discovery to get the messages.
So it's not fully protected yet.
Right. But then we go in January of 24 and Mark Zuckerberg and all them come to DC, and that's whenever Lindsey Graham opened up the meeting with Gavin's story and said, Mr. Zuckerberg, you have blood on your hands. And they show to where people were sending child sex abuse material via Messenger.
Yes. No, that's where I was going with that. There's tons of that on Messenger.
Meta blurs it.
What do you mean they blur it?
It's a blurred image.
To us? Like to
whoever
themselves?
it was going to.
Okay.
So if you're sending it, they're
so they've detected it.
Right. They detect it and then say, this may contain child sex abuse material, and you can still choose to open it.
Wow. And there's
that becomes the problem. So that's brought up, and that's brought up one of the lawsuits. Well, what Meta did was they went and said, well, we're going to end-to-end encryption because all they're doing is trying to eliminate their liability. They have no interest in protecting kids.
They're just they're saying we don't want anything to do with it. Y'all send what you want, use our tool, but we're not monitoring it. We can't be held responsible.
To quote Dave Chappelle, I would say Mark Zuckerberg is a habitual line stepper. Always has been.
Yeah.
The problem is whenever you know that children are dying from this, and you have the technology and the ability to stop it, and you refuse to. The reason that I'm suing Meta, the person that contacted my son was Bella Janet 28. That was the messages. So whenever he died, law enforcement got the phone because they always have to investigate a minor's death in South Carolina. So they start going through the phone just to make sure nothing's nefarious, and the message pops up, right? So then they file a subpoena with Meta to say, hey, we need this, and they report it as this is a crime that happened. We need all of this data. Well, Meta pulls down Bella Janet 28 immediately.
Oh, they take the account down.
They took the account down. Right?
So that they don't have to
that should be good.
But
but here's the difference. If I send you a friend request, I can say, block this account and any new accounts that they create. Well, Bella Janet 30, same images, same friends list, is right behind it, messaging on my son's last post which was the less than 3 sign as like a heart to tell his friends that he loves them, saying, hey, Gavin, do you have what we talked about? Wow. They are extorting my 14-year-old cousin who lives an hour north of me. Yeah. They are extorting my 16-year-old son. This is all during the week that I'm trying to bury my son. Jeez. And then I get my message, they're trying to extort me. And this is all coming from Bella Janet 30.
So the Facebook account reached out to you directly?
The Instagram account,
sorry,
yeah. But that is the entire problem. Yeah. They could have blocked this user with all the accounts that they had created. Yeah. But they said, no, we're just pulling down this one. Only this one account violated it, not the individual that's responsible for all these accounts.
And it's the same person behind them.
And that person continued to extort additional kids, could have caused additional deaths, and Meta didn't give a damn. And they had the ability to block it.
So Meta's not doing anything about any of this.
No, Meta is so disingenuous. Like I was telling you before, in August of last year, they pulled down 63,000 Sextortion accounts just off Instagram, just in Lagos, just in one day.
Just in one city, yeah,
so
that's crazy.
Did they do that? And think about it. Did they collect all these extortionists to get a good PR stunt while they continue to harm children? They get their PR stunt. Or let's give them the benefit of the doubt. No, they rolled out a task force and they said, we're going to take down 63,000 accounts in one day, one country, one platform, but haven't done shit since. Yeah. Either way, they're a bad actor.
Yeah.
So I don't see any other way than to say that this is, and not to mention the whistleblowers that have left Meta and talked about these harms.
So in your ideal solution or your ideal world, what is the solution to this?
The solution is repealing Section 230 or COPA.
Okay.
That says that they can't be sued.
So that people can sue them.
Yeah, because if you're intentionally and you're made aware, I mean, how do we deal with big tobacco? Big tech is the big tobacco of this generation. Yeah. Well, we put warning labels on things. We started age gating it, saying you got to prove your age, right? And then we opened up legal lawsuits. Once we found out that they had the information and hid it. And they were aware that it was causing cancer. They were aware that it's causing emphysema. Not only that, they're paying doctors to promote it. Well, what do you think Meta and TikTok and Google and all these other people are doing? It's the exact same method. The difference is they're a lot richer than big tobacco is.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Back in the day, tobacco was on the side. Yeah.
Big tech is the world's richest industry in the history of mankind. History.
Yeah.
We're not, I mean, big tobacco at any point was not as big as big tech is.
They can't be sued for this.
They can't be sued.
It's their biggest liability.
Yeah. I mean, you got AI chatbots that they're creating that are telling kids to kill themselves so they can spend eternity with the chatbot.
Whoa. That's dark, right?
And they're rolling them out, and they can't be sued. And what it says is they can't be. It's being treated as like a public forum, so you can't be held responsible for someone else. I think the intent was right. Okay. If I host a website and someone goes and posts something stupid on there, should I be sued?
Yeah, I
no.
got you.
But once you're big in the social media and you're creating an algorithm, well, that algorithm says, "Hey Heath, you want to see baseball." And I start showing you baseball, that's me speaking. That's not a public forum.
That is a good point that I've not thought of before.
Yeah.
Because I remember the big debate whenever President Trump got taken off of Twitter years back. And it was like, free speech, not free speech. It's like it's
private company.
Yeah, again, private company. So there's not much you can do about it.
The reason the argument was there is because the only protection they have is the free speech public forum. So once they take them off, they should be able to be sued.
Yeah. This is so interesting.
They're pulling away the free speech.
That is so crazy to me.
So, I mean, scenario. Like, I'll use this example. I had every protection on Gavin's device. He would get so pissed at me because he's in class and he has to look up something and can't because he has to have parental permission to go to this website that really had no pornography or anything else, but the filter called it so strongly that said this may contain adult content. So I was confident he was not looking at pornography.
Yeah.
After I got his phone back after his death, he had Twitter. He had one real account, 2 accounts that were just full pornography. There's
Kids are
there's
gonna find
no
ways around
parental
that,
rights. Your kid can go into Walmart if they're 13 years or older. It doesn't even matter if they're 13. Can buy a phone. Nothing stops them from buying a phone.
With internet access. Yeah.
And all they got to do is connect to a Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
They don't have to activate a cell phone carrier, and they can download Instagram. Now, let me ask you this. How many other places do we allow 13-year-olds to agree to legal binding contracts? But in every app store, they're able to hit accept. Wow. What happened to parental rights for me saying, this is a 13-year-old, and no, they can't download it?
You bring up some valid points here. Stuff I haven't thought of, which I'm sure you discuss this kind of stuff all the time, which I'm glad people are going to hear this. That's insane, actually. I've never thought about a kid going and buying his own phone and just downloading whatever.
Yeah, I mean, because I got a lot of old, ignorant people that are mainly they're Freedom Caucus groupies, and they hate me because I speak out against Freedom Caucus. Yeah. It becomes that issue. Like, it's all politics. And then say, oh, well, just don't give your kid a phone.
Yeah.
You know how many parents I deal with that, it come on the school laptop. They can download it on the school laptop.
Jeez.
Like, you cannot stop your kid from getting online unless you're living like the Amish. If you're sending your kids
if you're sending them to public school, they're all around.
You just really can't.
Wow.
And we have to educate. And I go back to like sextortion. It's very easy for my generation to say, what do you think? Like, you don't send pictures like that. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
But at the same time, in the 80s, we preached abstinence. Everybody was having sex. Yeah. The one girl gets pregnant, everybody points at her and calls her a whore. Yeah. It's no different than sextortion. The stats are up to 1 out of 17 kids. 1 out of 17 kids have been targeted for sextortion.
Targeted.
That's every middle school, every high school class in the entire country has a kid sitting in it that has been targeted for sextortion.
Wow. Targeted by, I guess,
by
adults.
The scammers.
Yeah, scammers out there in Nigeria or even, anywhere.
We're not even talking about the pedos out there.
Yeah. Jeez, that is dark.
I mean, I dealt with an 8-year-old that was on the game Roblox.
Yeah, that's
8-year-old's parent.
I've heard of Roblox. Yeah,
so
they're huge.
Roblox doesn't have a platform to where they can communicate. So what do people do? They go and get on Discord.
Yeah.
That's the way they communicate. So they talk on Discord so that way they can communicate. So they allow that implementation in there. Well, this 8-year-old ends up sending a photo or something to the person. They used an AI video to create a naked 8-year-old and told them to send me more pictures or I'm going to tell your mommy and daddy.
That is terrible, yeah.
This 8-year-old, within a 2-month period, began to insert things in themselves, all to be recorded, to satisfy this pedo. Yeah. And the parents had no clue whatsoever.
What can
the kids just playing Roblox?
What can parents do today to be protecting their children? I mean, you've obviously mentioned tons already, but is there is there a bulletproof solution to it?
The bulletproof solution would be liability.
Yeah, that's again.
Without liability, there isn't. And parents need to be demanding that, my first conversation with Meta, whenever I got elected and I walked into the State House, and to me, the balls of the VP or whoever it was that come up to me talking about, we want to work with you. And I make a suggestion. They're like, yeah, that's not something we can do. My response was either get in line or you can get offline. Yeah. That's the options. Yeah. If you're going to allow children on your platform, you have to ensure that it is safe for children.
Absolutely.
And politically, people, whenever I say, we passed an age verification bill in South Carolina, more of a parental rights bill. It doesn't say that everyone's age has to be verified. What it says is if your child's on a platform and you can prove that you are the parent. So if I want to turn over a birth certificate or a driver's license to the company to prove that I'm the parent, to say, hey, this IMDI or IMEDI number to this device, this is my child's device, and I deleted this app, I don't want them to have it anymore.
And then they'll finally take it down.
Okay. Then they could block that device from accessing their platform. Jeez. But yet the political pressure, because big tech put almost $1 billion into lobbying against any changes, it's probably one of the reasons I've had 30 plus text messages sent out against me within the past, 5 months now. Wow. But the political ramifications for that is they are funding so heavily just to shut it down, to scare people, to say, oh, they want everyone's ID. They want to create this big government database. No. I mean, you're an engineer.
Yes.
There's many ways to create a token.
Yeah.
Is it perfect?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Whenever we first did license, it was a picture and a laminated card, and people could walk in.
Yeah.
Like, license have gradually gotten stronger and stronger.
Yes, definitely.
There's always going to be bad actors that are going to get through, but I think we can all agree it's better than just selecting your age
there's got
on a drop-down box.
Stuff made for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or whenever you buy a phone. Why can't you say, I want so one of the bills I have is the App Store Accountability Act. What that says, you basically have 3 app stores. You have Apple, Google, and Amazon. That's it. Only thing we're saying is that Apple, Google, and Amazon tell all of your makers, you need to say whether this is safe for children or not.
What do you think that
Right?
social media companies would say?
Well, social media companies would have to put an age, because if you look at it right now, it says Facebook and Instagram's okay for 13 and up.
Yeah.
Every one of them say 13 and up.
Yeah.
So if they're saying 13 and up, it's safe for, and yet you're showing them full pornography on your site. And we've got ages that these things are legal for. But if you're saying it's safe for 13 and up, well, now the App Store should be able to go after or pull the app right off. They pulled, I think it was Wiz was the app. You know, Apple pulled them down, or Google pulled them off the store.
Nice.
Because too many kids were being attacked,
Yeah.
but now they let them back on. But yet they didn't do shit about Facebook.
Yeah. Man, that is
Because they get 40% of all the money that these apps.
I think they changed that Google. If you're going with the App Store tax law, I think they changed that. Where app stores could take like 15% or something of all purchases made. I think that's in the books of being changed.
But
you know better
if
than me,
they just did it to hold the companies responsible, and what the App Store Accountability Act says is that you're doing the age gating, because whenever I sign up for a new phone, I have to put in my credit card information.
Yep.
I have to verify you verify your age 4 times every time you get a device. Yeah. They know if it's a child or not.
Jeez. Man,
I don't have to do any of this. But yet you're allowing me to agree to a contract with your app store that if I just click the button, I'm going to have to pay $4.99 a month.
This is definitely an issue that needs to be addressed. I'm glad you're addressing it, because this sounds like a monster to take this.
We're taking one bite out of the elephant at a time.
Yeah, that's all you can do when it's this big of a problem and people aren't really aware of it. People aren't talking about it. I know that during part of your story is you previously owned a business, and when you were going through the time of your son's passing, of all the, I guess, the attention that was going towards you, you had to close your businesses during that time as well.
Yeah. So I started off my career in advertising. And that's one of the reasons I know so much about tech, is because I was part of the Web 2.0 launch.
Okay. Nice.
And the creation of algorithms for a marketing purpose.
Nice. Yeah.
So we could track your data, and using the data analytics. So the company I used to work for is Dominion.
Okay.
So we could track as you're purchasing through loyalty cards, and then we could market directly to you. I walked away from that in 2007 because I felt like it was a little too much of mark of the beast. We were controlling people. It was propaganda. I ran a beta test with Harris Teeter at the time with their beta store. And it was to change their top selling toilet paper just by using their VIC data.
Okay.
And we were able to do that in 28 days for that one store. This was just right whenever RFID chips come out. Like, you walk by a coupon reader and it spits out and it says, hey, Heath, try Scott's today for free, or try Scott's today for $4 off.
That's interesting. So yeah, you were.
And if I can get you to try it twice, well, then that became your choice.
Yeah. But then you moved on to owning a smaller business.
Yeah. Whenever I walked away from that, I started cutting grass for a living. And I felt like, I've been wearing suits and ties and traveling the country. And I was like, I want to be home. I want to coach my kids. I want to be in control. Not going to make a whole lot of money, but I was making so much money before. As a matter of fact, I didn't pay myself for 5 years building my lawn care company. But I was there for my kids. Built it up, and it became a larger company. while I was building it up, I ended up buying a heat and air company, and I opened a landscape supply store. And my focus become on the landscape supply. I enjoyed doing that because all the pitfalls that I was hitting starting my landscaping company, I could help coach some of the younger guys that were coming in.
Okay, nice.
Because there's very small margins and low maintenance. Everyone thinks that you're making all this money, but they're not counting on how much they spend on gas. And you went the long way around, so now you just cost yourself so much money and time. Or fertilizer. You threw out 1/10 of a bag, that could have covered this amount. Like just showing all of those things. And I enjoyed it. And then I was on county council and I was working local for just over a year before I decided to run for the state house.
Nice.
And everything was going good. We had just gotten through COVID. So COVID about killed me because we weren't considered essential. I mean, I was still open, but everybody else didn't want you at their property and doing these jobs, and yet I still have all this overhead for equipment. So we hit a little bit of a lull there, and we were able to just kind of come out of it and start to build back up, and then everything happened with my son. Well, not only that, the land that I was on leasing, the family that owned it decided they wanted to sell the land. So now I've got to move my business, and I'd saved up a bunch of money to move it, but whenever everything happened to my son, we lost $750,000 within 90 days. Wow. Because I built the business too much around me instead of around the system.
So
whenever I was not there, and I got mad at first, and I was thinking, these people want to support me, like, why aren't they coming out? And I thought back to
You mean why they're not coming out?
Coming out to the store to buy their products.
They weren't coming to the store.
Yeah. So like my top 10 clients just basically like fell off. I mean, and this was a store that was doing, $120,000, $200,000 a month. Yeah. And whenever they're my top 10 clients and they're gone, well, I've got $50,000 of overhead I got to cover every month.
Why did they leave? Why were they gone?
It was due to me losing my son. Okay. In their mind, their business has to come first. Okay. Right? If I'm not there, they don't want to bug me on, hey, I'm trying to work on this project. This takeoff didn't end up right. How, I need to get this, or can you work out a deal with me on this? They didn't want to bug me.
So they just went somewhere else.
So they went somewhere else thinking that they're helping me by giving me some space, but the money's not there. And it pissed me off at first, but then I started thinking back to whenever one of my suppliers lost a child. Yeah. And I used to buy all of my seed from him. And after his child died, because I couldn't call him the way that I'd always worked with him and everything else, I went somewhere else to buy seed that year. Well, then that became my supplier.
Oh. Jeez. So you just lost your son. Your business is tanking. You had to move your business and all that. You were running for the house as well during that time.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine how.
Well, I quit running after I lost my son. Like I quit. I didn't drop out, but I didn't do any campaigning.
You're just like, we're not touching that.
I still had a Democrat candidate, and I didn't really care whether I was elected or not. Every bit of money that was in my campaign account was spent just on mailers, and that was it. And then I got elected, came into office, and I didn't get to move my business until after my first year. So I had that 6 months in office, and then right afterwards I had to move the business. Yeah. That was on the landscape supply side. So I had to sell the landscaping, the heat and air, the first year, and then landscape supply. And whenever I say sell them, it wasn't to make any money. It was to keep from going bankrupt. Jeez. It was just juggling everything.
Yeah, because
I'm still paying off debt. But I walked in my first year, and then as a legislator, you get $10,800 up front. Well, after they take out taxes and insurance, it's a little over $3,000. And then you get a per diem per day. Yeah. But it's still, I think it comes out like 25, maybe total 25, 30. If it was enough to make a difference, I could tell you the exact numbers. Yeah. But if you're going to serve, and I think it's one of the problems in South Carolina politics, is that it's set up for only the rich to represent.
Yeah, because you don't get paid.
That's the reason you have so many attorneys there. It was probably the most stressful time, but absolutely. I leaned a lot more on my faith. Nice. My belief in life, and still to this day, is don't anticipate, participate. I'll be wherever God wants me. good or bad. It took me 30 years to become a Christian because I thought everyone was either perfect or a hypocrite. And it wasn't until I learned that we all fall short.
Yeah, we're all hypocrites.
That I could move forward.
Yeah.
And, I even opened up my campaign with, not only have I messed up, I will continue to mess up, but I'll strive to be a better man tomorrow than I am today.
Absolutely.
And really what we've lost in this entire country is grace.
Yeah.
So if we showed more grace, and that goes back to why did my son take his life? Shame. There's no grace, right? He's seen teenagers lose college scholarships because of something they said stupid whenever they were 13.
Yeah.
Same thing politically. Like my approach is that I'm here, this is the people's seat, I'm here as long as I possibly can be, that they want me here. Mm-hmm. But whenever they don't want me here, I'm not going to cry about it one bit. I made a lot more money before I ever got involved in politics.
Yeah.
It was a lot more successful. I feel like I'm more effective than I ever thought I would be in politics.
There you go.
And I think the people support me because of that.
Yeah.
But, it might just be the flavor this month.
I'll say
Don't mean that it is next month.
I will say when Christina and I met you, we agreed that you're a very down-to-earth politician. Like she said, he's not like the rest of them. Like he really I don't know. He doesn't think he's too good for you. Like he just seems more personable, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
I think
like a good neighbor.
One of the problems that we have in the State House too, there's not enough people that know what it's like to have to use the bathroom in a pot or go without power on the house. I was raised by a teenage mom, always worked 3 jobs, struggled. Like I was never unhappy because I didn't know any other way. Yeah. But I know what it's like for people that are struggling. And whenever you have people down there that, they could care less. They'll walk over and drop $100 on a lunch. Yeah. They don't understand how it's so detrimental to somebody to just have to pay an extra $50 for a fee to do something, or a business. Yeah. Like I remember whenever I was first in business, we were struggling, and I get into a fight with my wife. And I had like 5 guys working for me. I get into a fight with my wife because I was taking my children's Christmas money that she had been taking a little bit out, and she built up to be able to buy their Christmas. Yeah. Well, their Christmas was like $500 a piece.
Hefty.
Right? But I had no money to give my guys a bonus for Christmas.
Oh, okay.
So I knocked it down. I think each kid got like $150. Yeah. And each one of my guys got a $100 bonus. Yeah. And I remember fighting with my wife, and then I go and I give it to these guys. I'm making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch, And I give it to the guys, and I had guys complaining that this was a slap in the face or anything else. And I made a point from there forward, like, nobody gets bonuses. In your compensation, there's no bonus. Your bonus will be swag. I'm not giving you money.
Yeah, just for you to turn around and complain about me giving you extra money. Well, we've dove into a lot here today.
I jump around, sorry.
Yeah, I do want to end. I love to ask our guests, looking back on your career, you've been through tons of obstacles. You've been through the ups and the downs. What is the best advice you would give to someone in their mid-20s, young 30s, trying to get started in their career and make an impact in this community?
I think some of the best advice I ever had is you're always the average of the 5 people you're around the most. Yeah. Regardless of whether you want to increase your faith, if you're around 5 people that have stronger faith than you, then your faith will increase.
Amen, yeah.
If you want to increase your financial power, then if you're around 5 people that make more money than you will make more money. You will learn, because what is important to the people that you're around the most becomes important to you and bleeds out to you. Now, we all got that one friend that you just can't seem to get rid of. Yeah. But you just know that those people do weigh you down. Whenever your parents said, you are who you hang with, there's truth in that.
I 100% agree every word of that. Well,
so especially for young couples, and then you're in an accumulation phase. Yeah. You will eventually realize you don't need all this stuff. Nice. None of this stuff matters.
Yeah. Well, Representative Guffey, you're obviously a very wise man, very impactful. And
might be the first time I've been told that.
But thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.